Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look for a comet. The comet we're going to take a look at is starting to be visible. It's starting to come in towards the sun and get closer towards the Earth, but it won't reach its closest to us until we get into August. Nonetheless, we are going to take a look for it here. We're taking a look at the sky early enough in July. We're coming up to local midnight here at about 20 past 1 in the morning. That puts Scorpius, there's Antares, low to the southwest. So that would bring us here to Sagittarius and then onto Capricornus and Aquarius off in this direction. They are tougher to see constellations, and we are looking at this from a city. We will stick with the city sky for the moment, but we'll bring up the lines of the constellations at least. So that lets us see, hopefully, that this is Scorpius. Most of it is under the horizon, so it is tough to tell. But the teapot shape of Sagittarius is pretty clear there in the south, and we can see, if you know what you're looking for, this is Capricornus and this is Aquarius. Just a little bit higher in the sky, we have the summer triangle, and a little bit to the east, we have the square of Pegasus. So Aquarius and Capricornus are sort of under those two shapes. If we get rid of the lines of the constellation again and we move forward a day or two, that will get the moon out of the sky. But it is difficult to see these constellations. The summer triangle, of course, is nice and easy, some of the brightest stars in the sky, but it's tough to see the full square of Pegasus. The bottom star of the square is pretty obscure. Lower in the sky is Saturn, but it's so low that it is difficult to see. We should be seeing the Comet 10P Tempel. There we go, and it is updated for 2026. This is saying that it's epoch 2025 and it might be outdated, but we shouldn't be too far wrong here. And if we bring up the lines of the constellations again, it is in Capricornus, not Aquarius, but roughly this area. As we move forward in time, it comes lower in Capricornus. As we move back in time, it goes back up into Aquarius. So we've already moved far enough forward to see it in Capricornus rather than Aquarius. We'll get rid of these lines again. We're seeing this here at magnitude 7.19 reduced to 7.64. So because this comet is so low in the horizon, it would be easier to see from lower latitudes, lower on the planet. But there it is, already looking nice and fuzzy, the Comet 10P Tempel. Tempel is Wilhelm Tempel. Wilhelm Tempel was an astronomer who discovered 21 comets. So this comet, 55P Tempel Tuttle, this Tempel is the same Tempel. That comet, of course, is the parent body of the Leonid meteor shower. The comet Swift Tempel, Swift Tempel Linear, these are all discovered or partly or jointly discovered by Wilhelm Ernst Tempel. We're going all the way out into the countryside here, and it looks like this comet is definitely just beyond the edge of visibility. But from the countryside, we do have more stars visible to the naked eye, so that definitely gives us a clearer view of Sagittarius. The summer triangle is still prominent. The square of Pegasus looks more like a square, but due to the sort of abstract shapes involved, Aquarius and Capricornus are still difficult to spot. They're tough constellations to recognize. The Comet 10P Tempel is visible through binoculars. These are pretty big binoculars. We'll go down to much smaller binoculars, and I think it's clear that even through quite small binoculars, this comet is quite bright. 7.19 is just on the edge of visibility to the naked eye, so it's just barely out of view. So we've established where the comet is here, while it is still quite far from the Earth. Well, it's only 0.4 AU away, less than half of an AU away. It's still over an AU away from the sun. And because of when we're seeing it, where we're seeing it almost in the south, almost at midnight. Not exactly in the south, not exactly at midnight, but not too far off, which means it's almost on the far side of the Earth to the Sun, and we can see that reflected in the distances here. The comet is over an AU from the Sun, less than an AU from the Earth. We'll keep moving forward, and we can see it coming down to just 0.414 AU, so we can see that's about 61 million kilometers. We can see that the lowest it gets to is 61.937 million kilometers, and that brings its brightness up to 6.87. So that is from a dark sky on the edge of visibility, but we're after moving all the way through to early August here, just after the full moon, and the full moon, or nearly full moon, is there in the sky. So we're going to have to move back earlier to get the moon under the horizon, and unfortunately the comet goes under the horizon first. So due to the light of the moon, once we get into August, once the comet is actually at its closest to us and at its brightest, the light of the moon is going to interfere. By moving back in time a little bit, we can get a compromise. Here at the end of July 23rd, the comet is still under 7th magnitude, so just about visible to the naked eye in a dark sky. There it is, and we can see it's a little fuzzy dot. It is just barely visible. The label does make it almost too obvious, but it's just barely visible to the naked eye there under the brighter star. If we zoom in a little, it's pretty clearly visible, and it has that fuzzy shape that we would expect of a comet. Taking a closer look, I'm not seeing, well, there is a degree of a tail here. There's sort of a shockwave indicating what direction the tail would be facing. And as we get closer to the actual, not just closest to the Earth, but also the perihelion, it gets down to just 1.417 AU. So this is a comet that always stays further from the Sun than the Earth is, and due to that, it's never going to be that bright. It's never going to be as bright as comets that can get between the Earth and the Sun, where they are catching much more light and therefore look much brighter in the sky. We can see that it does get up to, we're getting it up to 6.87 magnitude there, which is pretty bright, but again, around the night of the full moon, so difficult to see and not generating that much of a tail. But that is the Comet 10P Tempel. That is really the best comet for us to see during July. It's the one that's going to get closest to us, but due to the night of the full moon, due to how low it is in the sky, it's not perfect. It's not an amazing comet to see. If we move down closer to the equator, it will look better. We'll be able to see it under darker conditions. So here we are just south of the equator, just barely south of the equator. We're still focused on the comet, and of course it looks much, much higher in the sky here. We'll move forward again to its closest position to the Earth, and we'll see where it is in the sky. There we go. The moon is under the horizon. The sun is not yet peaking above the horizon. We're right in the middle of the night. This is in a perfect dark sky, so of course the conditions are perfect. But there it is. It is a clearly recognizable dot, brighter than some of the other objects around it. Even though it is quite faint, it is a little bit fuzzy. If we take a closer look, the fuzzy shape is even more obvious, making it clear that this is a comet. And we're seeing it there at 6.87, reduced to 7.15 due to how low it is in the sky. But it's not particularly low in the sky. That is fairly high in the east. We can get it a little bit higher before the moon comes into the sky, or before the moon really contributes. So that brings it to about 7th magnitude. So from here, closer to the equator, that's a pretty ideal viewing condition. We'll go in between, we'll come to southern Europe, so much further south than us here in Ireland, still much closer to the equator than we are here in Ireland, but further from the equator than the view we just saw. Of course, we can see all of Scorpius there. Sagittarius is very clear as well. So all of this tells me that the comet should be fairly high in the sky. It's still just under the horizon, but it does get higher in the sky from here than it would from Ireland. But due to the angle of the ecliptic, it's still quite low while the moon is under the horizon. We can get it to a higher position than it would ever be seen from here in Ireland, but that is with the just past full moon in the sky, so that is going to make things more difficult. With the moon under the horizon, we can see that it's almost magnitude 8, so really out of view to the naked eye, but still achievable to binoculars. And this is out of view to the naked eye even in a perfect dark sky. So without a doubt, this is a better target for binoculars or a telescope than the naked eye. And for us here in Ireland at least, it may be easier, it may be better to take a look at this comet before it reaches its closest position to the Earth, because it will be higher in the sky and the moon will be out of the way. As we move forward, even though it comes closer to us, it sinks lower in the sky, and that actually makes it look fainter because of the extra air in the way, because of the curved dome-like nature of our atmosphere, or the sphere of atmosphere around the Earth. The fact that the atmosphere curves around us means that it is thicker at the horizon. We're looking through it at a steeper angle. But that is 10P Tempel, the comet that is closest to us in July and August. So even though it is going to get closer to us in August, you may want to take a look at it in July, and I hope that you've enjoyed taking a look at it here. If you enjoyed this video, then please do like it. If you enjoyed this kind of content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to read this information, you can do so on my website, queevinscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.